Welcome back to another episode of Aunt and Andrew, where family's everything.
Until it's not. I'm Aunt.
I'm Andrew, and today we are giving you a recap on the Randall Scandal. Bum, 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 bum.
The Randall Scandal is way bigger than the Sandoval.
Way bigger.
Way bigger. I mean, like Sandoval, this coming out right now makes Sandoval look like nothing.
But it didn't just come out. It was already all out. The LA Times did an article on it.
Yes, I know. But when did the Randall Scandal itself go on Hulu?
Hulu on May 20th, Monday.
That's what I'm saying. It's way bigger of a scandal. Way bigger than Scandoval. It's like not even comparison.
Really? You think so? I mean, on the legal level, of course, but there's not one thing done wrong on Scandoval that has anything to do with it being legally wrong. It's all emotional
I had a
drama.
whole different opinion of the situation after watching this. Like, first of all, Randall Emmett is the slimiest human being. Everything about him, he must smell. Like, if he smells good, I'd be surprised, because I have a feeling he's a combination of like sweat and cigars. He just comes off that way. I can't tell you, he is so slimy. Turtle is the perfect analogy of who he was. Did you ever watch that series?
Yeah, and I don't think he's Turtle, because Turtle was like innocent and like just like didn't know what to do and like was kind of stupid and like just like bumped around.
I think Randall's the type of person, if he's around greater people, he self-deprecates.
Okay.
Himself like, oh, I'm not, I'm this, like to be the schmuck,
Yeah, like, because I didn't understand.
But when he's around people like the Vanderpump people, like, the Sir Guedes, all of a sudden he's the big guy and he got a puffy chest and he thinks he's cool. Yeah, because he's not real about anything. Every single aspect of his life is illegitimate.
Yeah, and I think that's if you think about it, what I think is really funny is that think back to these past seasons when Jax, Tom, Sandoval, and Schwartz, they all put him on a pedestal.
Yeah,
and it's so funny.
But I think that fed his ego. I think it fed Randall's ego that these were reality stars and they thought he was something else. So they puffed up his ego, because let's face it, when he's hanging around with Martin Scorsese and Bruce Willis, he's nothing. So I think it enabled him to puff up his chest and seem like he is something. Oh, he's a producer. Oh, he's on a reality show. Oh, he's got the hot, girl, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and I think with the Bruce Willis thing, it's like one of those, I think it worked until it didn't for Randall. Like, talk about the worst dose of karma, that like you have this model of making films, and because you're such a slime ball in all that you do in life, you find like the karma that finds you is an actor who is going through the situation that Bruce Willis is going through. Because if it had been an able-minded actor, like, again, that's the cherry on top for me, because I believe there's a lot of other stuff that already puts him in a category of being just like a scum.
Oh, he's a scumbag.
But I think like someone outside of us humans, like someone on the other side, wanted to nail his coffin shut, because they were like, we're going to give you someone who's going to make you look horrible.
No, here's the thing with Randall. We all do terrible things in our life. We all do. None of us are perfect. He did terrible things on Monday, on Tuesday, and Wednesday, on Thursday, on Friday. He did double extra triples when he went to Coachella. I mean, like, he was horrible every day to every single person he encountered.
And imagine his partner, he cheated on her. The A-list actor he employed, he abused him. The assistant that he probably underpaid, look what he did to them.
Oh,
he
my
didn't
God.
pay. The contractors,
yes,
the loan givers, Jax Taylor. Yes. Jax didn't invest in film. Jax gave him one of those like $100,000 loans to get paid back 125. It was truly just a loan.
Yeah, no, I think Jax was thinking, because they do say in the documentary that his business model was making money. He legitimately was making money with these, what were the kind of movies they called
They
them?
sound honestly like the Party City version of Jurassic Park. It's like they're really scary sounding. They're like stupid actors doing these weird, like animalistic or like superhero things in different countries.
Right. And they said that they would come in for, $5 million for 2 days work, and then they were gone. I mean, that's what they did. What I really got out of it is, number one, that Bruce Willis was sick a lot longer than anybody knows. He's been sick for a while. And I hadn't realized that his career had been diminished to the capacity it was, because I was still thinking of Bruce Willis as like a top name.
Same.
Right. And to see that he was working with like people like Randall, who are working with Steven Seagal, which is really, really low. I mean, I just think of Steven Seagal as way down here, and Bruce Willis is up here.
Yeah, like a little, exactly. A little bit of the pecking order. We're back to old school Roni at the Brass Monkey. But I also don't know if maybe because there is that level of pride that maybe Bruce Willis's team also wasn't as forthcoming with his condition to Randall.
Right. And they didn't, I'm sure his people were like, this is my gravy train. And as long as we're his wife and him are willing to put him out on a job, and we've got a job for him, we're doing it, because we know this gravy is not going to last forever.
Yeah, I think Randall might have been a little frustrated, right? What if Randall?
I'm not.
No. But what I'm trying to tell you is, what if the team is telling Randall, like, there's a lot of, in the Bruce Willis part of it, it's a hard one, and I think that's why it's gotten the least media attention. Is that I think that the Bruce Willis, I think it's hard to pin that on just Randall, probably because I think his team probably was trying to keep his image clean. There was probably a lot of like, let's hope for the best and hope this works out kind of projects for Bruce Willis. And maybe, maybe this one is where, like, because there's so much more with Randall that people are trying to just continue to add it on and add it on and add it on. Now, I don't think that like it didn't happen, but let's also call it what it is. The info that's out there on this Bruce Willis situation is producers made anonymous statements that it was noticeable on set. Right. That's that's not the most that's not Randall's most obvious issue. But he's also not the only actor in Hollywood who at different times in their career is having trouble remembering lines and being fed. It happens to a lot. It's happening right now in the back of your office. It's happening right now on a soap opera to someone who is a legend. And there's all reports he can't remember his lines either, and he's being fed them. Are you his friend? You don't want to say the name? No, I'm not gonna spread rumors that I don't. But I mean, that's been going on for a long time, that there would be, I mean, that's half the reason why they have teleprompters and big notes and everything to tell people what to say, because they're reading lines. And some of it is because there's a lot of dialogue to remember and they want the lines, but some of it is just whether they're high, they're drunk, they're this, they're that, they're hungover. They're sick, they've forgotten their lines. Lazy, they don't even try to remember their lines. So I don't think not knowing your lines is the biggest thing. I think with Bruce Willis, it was the beginning of Alzheimer's, and that's what he has. And God bless him, because that's a terrible disease. It's the worst. It's the worst. And so I think with going back to Randall too, that I also think is crazy is, what do you think now? What are your thoughts now when you... Oh, you're going to ask about Lala. I want to know what you think about two things. First and foremost, I want to know what you think about Lala's my girl. I think we're inside. I get it. I think we're inside each other's heads. So I'm going to tell you that I think what she said at the reunion, that I think part of it was cut because they do have to squeeze a lot into a little bit, is that Sandoval and Randall are the same type of person. They have that narcissistic personality where like they try to do as much as they can. They slide by, they put this, I had a friend growing up, a guy I used to be friends with that that I won't say their name, but it's rhymes with canister. And that just everything was goody to the adults and the people around them. But like when you're friends with someone, you know what they're really up to, you know what they're thinking, you know what their goals are, you know how they operate. And so I just think that
you're aware of the facade where the average person isn't.
Yeah, and I think that's the case here, but tenfold. And I think with Sandoval that we have to remember is like
Sandoval isn't even in the same ballpark.
He may treat Lala Kent and his girlfriends the same way that Randall treats maybe like a contentious friend in his life and his relationships, but Sandoval is not abusing the cooks at Schwartz and Sandy's and harassing the hostess at Tom Tom, because that stuff would come out.
Yeah, totally. Especially now.
Yes.
He's just dipping.
So I think it is dipping in and dipping out.
He's just dipping, but not dipping out. Here's the thing. The way Randall abused his assistants is slave labor. No, literally, it's a slave trade. And if people are being treated like that in Hollywood, it's no different than as a slave trade. Sorry, because they're just, it says at the end of this documentary, these assistants' lives were destroyed. One's 12 years in debt because of what he did. Asking people to do things for you and not paying them. It's not like they were bought and sold, and I don't mean to diminish anybody's life experience, but the way he treated people were like slaves. And
it's different. It's because it's a different type of ownership and a different type of control. Yeah, it's not the same as a slave trade, obviously, because that was like no choice, physical. We own you.
But these people,
but it's a mental ownership in a way. Yeah. It's like it's this dark cloud that happens in TV and film, entertainment, fashion. It's the same thing where they like the Devil Wears Prada is not. That is like a very, I think that is the most. And I don't think that would even be okay today. But that is probably the worst it could have ever been. And that's the story that they made a movie about, right? Like, so that's in a way where it's like not like this scandal. It's more like the way it is. And I think that exists. I've experienced it. I've seen people that experience it.
Even Anna Wintour is not as bad as Randall Emmett. And I'm going to tell you, I think the problem with Randall is that he's always just below the surface a little bit. I believe when you get to a higher level in Hollywood, that you don't treat people like
you can't.
You couldn't. That's what I'm saying. I don't think your A-list stars are treating their assistants like that at all.
No, I think that I feel like what happens is like you may operate that way when you're up and coming but when you get to that higher level,
you can't.
Small things happen that make you realize like, oh shit. Yeah, I can't treat people that way. I can't do that. Now, if you miss those whispers and you miss those signs and you just keep doing it, that's when you become Randall Emmett. That's when you become Harvey Weinstein. And I think there's another difference between Harvey Weinstein and Randall is that the same way that like Sandoval is not Randall. I hate to say this. I think Randall mentally is more dangerous than Harvey Weinstein. Because Harvey Weinstein had money and power to hide his addiction to like rape and addiction to women and just like forced like, creepy behavior. But he was paying his bills.
He did pay his bills. Yeah.
And let me tell you, like, I can't imagine that like the Weinstein company didn't have 100 assistants and PAs and that they all like they had big parties and like trust me, those people go on to have big jobs. So there's no way that they are like there's no way that the men that were Harvey Weinstein are going to sit there and say the same things that young man said about, I say young man, he's older than me, that guy said about Randall. The reason why is because people like Harvey, they get away with it for the most part
Well,
because
because
of the
they are
fact
really
they have
successful.
so much money that they're
Right.
able to hide it. Randall didn't have that kind of wealth. Did
Difference
have
too.
that he put into himself.
Right, but here's the difference too. Here's Randall, and he's with this Amber as his wife and Lala. Harvey Weinstein, her name was Georgette, I believe, was his wife. She was the
Yep.
head of a huge fashion house. I wish I could remember it now because it disappeared overnight. It began with an M, and I wish I could remember now. But I mean, he was married to this big fashion designer.
Yeah.
Marchese. Marchese was the name of the line, and Georgette was her first name. And she was everybody was wearing her designs. She was a big designer. He's a big producer, Hollywood. They were a real A-list couple. These two are like a C- couple.
What do you mean? Give them Lala beauty, give them Lala robes, give them Lala podcasts. Come on.
Listen, send it to Daryl, okay?
Let me tell you something. I ordered a send it to Daryl sweatsuit and it has not arrived yet.
Well, because they're out of stock. Okay.
So let me tell you, if it doesn't come by Monday, I'm posting like 50 cents. Get it to me by Monday, Lala, or I'll send it to Daryl.
It's not 50 cents. If Fofi, what was it?
No, 50 cents was the
No, it wasn't. He spelled it wrong. Remember, it wasn't
Fitty.
Yeah, Fitty. Okay, let's talk about Lala. Okay. The level to which Lala has come down on Tom's scandal is what I told you the whole time. It's projection. She is taking out everything she feels on Randall on Tom, because what Tom did is nothing compared to Lala and Randall. Randall was married with 2 children. She entered the life is over with the wife, Amber. He's with Lala now. He has a baby with Lala. They're never married. They're engaged. Ariana, whether you like it or not, they weren't engaged. They had no children. Really, she's no different than Bambi, Rachel.
Okay.
It's no different. There's no difference. So the idea she's coming down so hard, like I told you, they've all got this weird displaced anger.
We're gonna say this one time and then we're putting it to rest. This is a group of friends.
I understand
that we follow.
But
for their friend group that we all follow,
yeah, but
it is massive deal.
And Lala should be the one that said, hell, I did the same thing. Who am I to judge?
No, because she didn't do that with one of her friends. So for her, yes, she's a cheater. She participated in cheating. But wait. I want to explain this to you.
Married with 2 children.
We are fans.
I know that.
They are friends. We watch them and we think that everything has an equal weight. But to them, we're watching their lives. They're not living their lives for us.
I like Lala, but she's not innocent in her life story either.
But in the reunion, she said that. She goes, we've all cheated.
Yeah.
We've all cheated, but there's a difference. No one did it here with a friend like this. We're a group of friends. And also what Kristen's saying is that back in the day, they did do it with friends, but we're talking about the here and now. Don't bring up the history books.
I don't know. I just don't get it. I'm just telling you.
I'll tell you why. I also will tell you this, that Lala Kent, she's a badass bitch.
Oh, I'm not saying.
So when Randall does that to her, people think that Lala Kent, the badass bitch, can handle it.
And
Ariana is a calm, wholesome, quiet. And what did she say? I would stand by you for anything. I would have been there for you for everything, because that's exactly who she is. Yes. Lala Kent is someone who can stand up for themselves and is not a victim in a lot of these situations. Now, I think she's a victim of Randall, but on paper, Lala doesn't come off as a victim.
Do you think she's a gold digger? That's the question.
I think at the age she was at with Randall, I believe that, yes, she was in that mindset. Do I believe that that's how she operates now? No.
No, I think every person who worked for Randall probably have PTSD. I mean, I don't know how they ever trust again, how they ever do anything for anybody. And you know what the real sad part is? There's 1,000 Randall Emmets. Maybe more.
But then again, like, think about like Crystal Minkoff from Beverly Hills. Do you think her husband's like that? He has a similar kind of job as Randall. He's worked in production. He's produced things. He's done.
He's done Lion King.
I know.
He's a great guy. He's nothing like Randall.
My thing is like, but I could spot that without knowing the Randall scandal.
Yeah.
I'd be like slimeball, put together gentleman that like has respect for all, probably more than 99% of the world.
Girl's husband was a producer too, and you can tell he might have been on the fence a little bit of both. Girardi with the hair, not Girardi, Gerard, I think her name was. She has the long black hair and she has hair products. She sells I think Gerard is her name.
Yeah.
Yeah. And her husband, he was German or something. But he was also a producer, and he could be a little slimy. But look at how everybody was fooled by Tom Girardi. I mean, they all thought he was legit, and he had bills everywhere too. So I mean,
if this is just another lesson for the universe out there,
pay your bills.
If you have skeletons in your closet and you don't want to, put yourself into a prison cell, then don't go on reality TV.
Do you think Randall did anything that's prison worthy though? I don't. I
think if they had, I think that some of the people that he didn't pay, there were a few of those.
Okay, but that's not really prison worthy.
I think that what he did, I think if there was proof that he was the catalyst on set with Bruce Willis, that could potentially be prison worthy.
No,
but I don't think he's the catalyst, and I don't think there's proof. I think Randall,
he's slimy, but I don't believe he was raping women and stuff. I don't
believe that Randall was
help, but he wasn't raping. That's a difference.
No, I think he's a pig. Like, I think he's
a pig. But he had willing girls. He didn't need to rape them. I mean, Harvey had willing girls too. He didn't need to rape them.
He didn't. They didn't at all. They're not Bill Cosby.
Yeah. Well, I think Harvey was a little
maybe because of the way they used it. But I just think that, for me, the Randall thing was pretty fascinating. I think that
it was fascinating. The mother was fascinating. His assistants were fascinating. His partnership with just getting close enough to big stars, with doing The Irishman and stuff. He just always on the peripheral though, always on the peripheral. And he wanted so desperate to be in that world, but I really believe his own, what's the word I want to use? Tactics in life prevented him. He was never going to get there. He was never going to be at the epicenter of being a movie producer like he wanted to, because the slime was always going to hold him back in the pit.
Yeah. And then he probably also had to think in the top of his mind, like, oh, wow. And if I even get there, I got all this I got to worry about.
Yeah. I mean, I highly recommend it, but way more of a scandal than Scandival.
Well, when it comes to the world, but like when you think of a group of a dozen friends, it's not, because it's not a personal story. The Randall story is like a world, many random strangers, different walks of life, employees, girlfriends, producers, A-list actors. It's a lot more of a scandal, right? Whereas like Scandival is a scandal for a dozen friends in West Hollywood.
I get that. And I'm going to say one other thing. I do think he's probably a racist, but in the context of he treats everyone like slime. So the black assistant really wasn't treated. He may have had different words.
No, he chooses the identity words that are the most abusive and the most offensive to the people he's talking to.
Right. But he treats everyone like crap.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's technically
I hear what you're saying. Like, no, like he's racist to a black person. He's anti-Semitic to a Jew. Like he's that kind of person. He's sexist to a woman. He's, different things like that.
Yeah. That's just the nature of him. If you get him angry in any way, if he can find what your Achilles heel is he takes that one stereotype.
Yep.
So I don't think he's necessarily a racist. He's just a horrible human being.
Yep.
Period. And it makes me wonder about Lala's judgment, because I can't believe that she fell for it for so long, but she was anesthetized by being in this next echelon of Hollywood also. She was no longer on a reality show. She's going to premieres with a producer, that movies that who was in it? Was it Al Pacino or was it?
I don't know. But she'd admit that, I think.
Yeah.
I think she would.
Or whatever. Yeah. I mean, she was anesthetized to all the nonsense too, and she loved it. And she got caught up in her own little web, because you can go back to the episode of Vanderpump Rules, and she said the first night after she banged him, she had a Land Rover. So
Randall, where are you? Because I need a second car. So see you soon, guys. We will see you this week when we do our Jersey reunion